The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Sicilian Corner, winner of the Italian Heritage Media Award, with your hosts, Tom Zappola and Mike Lomazzo.
How are you?
How are you?
We lost you.
How
He said Mikey boy at the start.
Oh, okay. We didn't hear that part of it. I'm doing
Well,
good.
that's because you're deaf.
No, that wasn't it. It didn't come over. But anyway, I'm doing fine. What are you drinking?
Herbal peppermint tea.
Really?
Health conscious.
Wow.
You know, my body is my temple, so I'm kind of just paying attention to it. Hey, listen, welcome to the Sicilian Corner. Tom Zappola, my big brother, Mikey Lomazzo. We have a really good show today. Tony Palmisano, president of the St. Alfio Society, and Domenic Messina, former president of the St. Alfio Society, are in the studio with us. Everybody knows this is the 100th anniversary of the Feast of St. Alfio in Lawrence. And over the course of this year, we're going to do quite a few feast shows because we want everybody and his mother and his cousin to attend our 100th this year. So we're going to really go after it. But don't forget to share. You can share the show on Facebook, YouTube, any platform that you use. What's her name? What's that girl's name? Alexa? Is that her name?
That is too funny. Alexa, you're right.
Alexa, iHeartRadio, whatever platform you use, you can get the show.
I get a kick out of Alexa, the Sicilian Corner radio show. And all of a sudden, our show comes on.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
She, honest to God, she
What do you
just
think she
answered
looks
me.
like, T?
I've seen the voice. I've seen the girl.
Oh, really?
Seen the girl. She's
I haven't.
about 40-something. I've seen her and I've seen Siri, the two voices. And they're both attractive women.
You talk about a sweet gig, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
They got a better job than you. And that's pretty hard to find somebody who's got an easier job than you.
Hey, I got to tell you a quick story.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And then we're gonna get into the feast. So, Tony, you'll appreciate this. So last night, Ellen and I and Anna, we went over to the Sailfish Marina. Tony, I think we took you there once.
Last
right?
year, we went there for lunch.
Yeah.
Nice place,
So-
right on the water,
right.
the dock, yeah.
So Ellen and I were sitting at the bar with Anna, and there's this guy sitting next to us. Big guy, about 6'2", black guy, about 195 pounds. And we're shooting the breeze. And, we were there for a good hour because we have some apps and stuff. So we're talking about the Patriots and all this stuff. He loves the Pats. He's a big San Francisco 49ers, blah, blah. I said, what do you do for work? He said, I'm retired. I says, well, what did you do? He says, I played in the NFL for 12 seasons. I says, you're kidding me.
Wow.
I says, well, what's your name? His name is Jim McKyer. And listen to this. Played for 12 years, a defensive back. He was a cornerback. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings from 3 different teams.
No way.
Played with Joe Montana. He got drafted by the 49ers. Played with Joe Montana. Played with Dan Marino. Played with all those guys. And he says, I was a journeyman. He said, I was good. I played on 7 different teams. He said, and they thought that I was a good role guy. You know what I mean? Like all-purpose guy. So they used me. He says, and I had a really good career. We looked it up. 33 interceptions over his career. The guy was a pretty good ball player.
And last name is McIntyre, right?
No, McSkyer, McKyer. I had never heard of him until I looked him up. It was like, wow.
Tom,
Guy's got
I saw a picture of you, really thin boy, playing, I think it was for Austin Prep.
You did.
Yeah. It's in a white uniform. Yeah.
Let's move on. Can we move on from
Yeah.
that? All right, let's talk about the feast. Before the show started, we talked about Dom and Tony. This is our 100th anniversary, and it's exciting for everyone. And I think it's kind of important for people to know where the seed was planted for this feast and how it has evolved over the last 100 years, Dom. So, you can touch upon that, and I can throw some stuff in.
I think it all comes down to in the in the early 1900s, the immigrants came from Italy all over America, and the ones from the region around the volcano Mount Etna ended up in Lawrence. somewhere in the vicinity of 70,000 of them. And they didn't all come from Tre Castagni. They came from Padana, right. Via Grande, Tre Castagni, Acireale, Catania. Everyone always says they're from Reggio di Catania, but that's all those towns. And when they came to Lawrence, they brought their fellowship of family, basically, friendships, and the men, organized. They wanted to organize a club where they could socialize, take care of each other, and honor the saints that were in the town of Tre Castagni at the time. That was where the impetus of the devotion was. It was in that town. But let's face it, they were from surrounding towns, and because they were newbies in America, they wanted to relate to each other. Even if there was one time they said the towns were competitive, yes, they were. But when you come to America, the competition ends because the survival was here. So
well, you're making an interesting point, and there were a core group of about 5 or 6 guys. Ignazio Scuderi, Sachem Nails, Alfio Bonacorsi.
I think there's a Turissi in there too, right?
Yeah. John Farrow, Gaetano Turissi. There was a core group of 5 or 6 guys that really started it.
Tommy, but one of the members that started it was Scuderi. Is that Domenic? Tony, is that Joe's grandfather or great-grandfather? Or?
I'm not sure the direct connection to Joe Scuderi.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm not sure it might be.
Scuderi's a strong name there.
Ignazio Scuderi was the man. I remember, I think, Domenic, I don't know if you were with me, but, in the society, there's the blueprints that we found up in a trunk in my mother's house of the saints.
You gave me one.
That's right. That's right. And Ignazio Scuderi is the guy that paid out of his pocket to have those saints made. And I don't know if they were made here, Dom. Were they made in the United States?
No, they weren't. They were made there.
And if you see on the front of the statues, Tony, it says Ignazio Scuderi written on the front.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah.
The part of this that I like the best, and I really see it strong now with the leadership that we've had over the years, is that it originated in the friendships and brotherhoods of those men. And now you got about 165 members. I could be off by a few. But you think about it, the guys are so tight. Granted, we have squabbles about what we should do here, there, but who cares in the end? We love to pretty much be together and enjoy the company, the same company that those 5 guys. Just imagine those guys walking down Common Street. Hasn't changed a bit.
But ironically, the old Sicilians, and we've talked about this a lot, the old Sicilians were really set in their ways. And if you recall, around 1920, the society started in, the first year is 23, but we know in reality it was like 21. But around 1925, there was a big falling out in the organization. And it was because, and I'll be honest with you, my grandfather and Alfio Bonacorsi kind of led the exit, and it was ridiculous because they were letting people in to the organization that were not from Tre Castagni. So they decided to splinter, and they started an organization called the Tre Castagnesi Club. And that picture hangs in our society, that big picture in black and white. That's not the St. Alfio Society. That's the Tre Castagnesi Club. But then...
there happens to be one woman in it.
Exactly.
Was it really?
Yes. Yeah. And then they made amends. They were convinced that, something, guys, it can't be all from Tre Castagni. And they reemerged as the St. Alfio Society, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That lasted how long? About a year, 2 years?
2 years.
2 years. 2 years tops.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine what went on back then?
Now, the other thing, Tony, I don't know if you know this, but the original club was not at 20 Common Street. It was on Union Street, where somewhere around where Borelli's used to be, Domenic?
I believe so. That's where it was.
Right in that building.
Wasn't it part of the Stramondo gig?
Yeah, exactly. Where Stramondo's Pizza used to be, I think that's where it was originally. But again, it's evolved, Tony, because of guys like you. You've taken it, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Tony, you really, I hate blowing your horn, but you've done a hell of a job.
Thank you, Tony.
I agree fully.
You really have. You've done. Tony, what are your
thoughts?
Proud
of you, Grasshopper. Proud of you.
What are your thoughts on the whole, not just the 100, but the whole thing, the whole picture?
So I mean, we're more social now. We're more community oriented. It's been sort of a initiative of mine, starting with last January when I became president, to get the support from membership to kind of do some things that were a little bit different. But really, as Domenic said, just to bring everyone together, because as you know, being around 100 years for an organization like ours, a fraternal organization, nonprofit, is not easy. Right. And part of that is because of two things. One, people do have opinions. Some people have very strong opinions, which then determines that if they don't get their way, they decide that they're going to walk away.
Good point.
And let's be honest, that's happened. I mean, we can name, I hate to say it, more than a few guys that were instrumental or integral parts of this organization over the last 25, 30 years that literally just because they didn't get their way or they didn't like something, they just walked away. And so, you know, that was something that was very, very cognizant to me. And I said to myself, well, at the end of the day, whatever the organization, and it's not what I want, and I've made that very clear. It's not this is not Tony Palmisano's agenda. I will propose ideas, but whatever we decide as a group, that's what we're going to do. And then if we decide that we're going to do something, we're going to work together to do it. And I've said to people, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. Then either be quiet on the sideline or just get in the boat and start rowing, because that's really what I want. I want everyone rowing in the same direction. So to answer your question, it's been challenging to get people to work together, but it's not been challenging when you propose the idea to someone and say, look, not everything that we do is going to be something that you're going to support. But no one is going to be 100% in agreement on everything, right? I mean, that's not realistic. But for the big things, we have to sort of really work together. And I got to tell you, the council, the former presidents have been very, very supportive. Domenic, and I'm not saying it because he's sitting next to me, but I've relied on his sort of acumen and insight. Just the way I'm just approaching meetings. You know, if someone. Listen, we used to have screaming matches at the meetings, right? It was like, how productive was that when you had screaming matches? We don't do that anymore because I'm not allowing that to happen. I'm allowing people to say something. I want everyone to voice their opinion, but we're not going to do it in a chaotic manner, right? We're going to do it in a very orderly manner where the meetings are productive. People can say whatever they want. I want to hear everyone's opinion. But again, at the end, whatever we decide we're going to move forward. And I think that's been the key and the cornerstone to working together.
Being respectful.
Exactly. You got to be respectful. Everyone's opinion matters. You know, everyone's opinion matters. And as I said this, you know, 11 months ago, 12 months ago, and I'll say it again, you know, I'm not the president for the 80 guys that voted for me. I'm the president for all 165 members. And therefore, 165 members need to be represented. And the same thing is with the council, right? You voted for a council member. If the council votes and does something that the body doesn't agree with, you've got to hold those guys responsible, right? Those are the guys that are representing you, right? There's 8 guys representing 160 guys. It's not 8 guys representing 8 individual opinions. It's 8 guys representing 160. And if you like something or you don't like something, hold those gentlemen accountable. So I know it sounds simple, but it's not. It's been a very calculated, strategic, technical approach to this. But I think at the end result is that we're all seems to be working well together, and I think we're getting things, and we're a lot more efficient than we used to be in terms.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, listen, I can't tell you how many meetings we used to walk out of, right? And again, nothing against the past administration.
No way.
Where you'd walk out of a meeting and you'd have 5 guys in this corner, 5 guys in that corner, 5 guys in that corner, and they're all talking about, well, this, no. That still happens, but it doesn't happen to the degree. It's never not going to happen. It's never not going to happen. It's just human nature that people are going to gravitate towards certain things. But the reality is I think we are really working well together, because if we want to continue this for another 100 years, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to put together what I call our petty differences, because we have so much more in common than we do in our differences. I mean, we all believe in the basic fundamentals of this organization and the mission, right? We all believe in the traditions, the Italian culture, the faith, It's all faith-based. We can talk about, the blessing of the friars and how that's really elevated sort of the spiritual side of St. Alfio's over the last year. And then obviously that has filtered into the community involvement now and working with the actual people who live in the neighborhood that we no longer, most of us haven't lived in there for 50 years, right? Well, Tom, you're from the neighborhood. I never lived in the neighborhood. You lived in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I mean, that neighborhood was a big part of my life, but I haven't been there since I left for college.
Right, and so that's our home. That's where we will always be as long as we have the relationship with the church. But we started this last year. We have to reach out to people who live in that community and say, look, if this feast is going to sustain itself and going to continue, it can't just be about Italian Americans coming back to Lawrence for 3 days. It's got to be about, because all the people live in that neighborhood who support the new shrine, they're family-oriented folks. They may not look like us. They may not, English may not be their first language, but they're all basically believe in the same principles that we do, which is they're trying to raise their families. They're hardworking people. They believe in God. They're now understanding more about what we're doing at St. Alfio's because we've made those inroads, right, in terms of inviting them.
They're very accepting. We're going to take a quick break. Tony's in the house, Tony Palmisano, Domenic Messina, Mikey Boy. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. Let's talk about some of the old timers, Domenic, and like Silvio Campagnoni and a few of those guys. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Ciao, this is Esther of You, Me, and Sicily. I want to talk to you about Tommy Amin and the great staff at Butcher Boy Market. Families, foodies, and home chefs come together at Butcher Boy to talk good food and create traditions. They offer the best in quality cuts of beef, pork, lamb, poultry, and restaurant-style steaks and chops. Produce? All of their produce is hand-selected to complement any meal or even to make it your main course. Their deli serves fresh roast beef, turkey, and beautiful imported Italian cold cuts, cheeses, and antipasto. And don't forget the Butcher Boy Bakery, featuring sweet delectables from all over the state, as well as their very own bakery. That's Butcher Boy, where the secret to a great steak is, of course, the steak. Located at 1077 Osgood Street in North Andover, Massachusetts, in the Butcher Boy Plaza. Ciao!
Looking for that something special? All of us here at the Sicilian Corner suggest trying Ristorante Uno, located at 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. For the most exquisite dining experience in an intimate setting that serves authentic regional Italian cuisine and features old country service. Try Ristorante Uno. Did we mention their award-winning wine cellar? Ristorante Uno, 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. Call 617-573-9406 for reservations. That's 617-573-9406. Tell them the boys from the Sicilian Corner sent you.
Today, Lawrence General Hospital has affiliations with leading Boston academic medical centers. Top specialists from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Floating Hospital for Children at Tufts Medical Center work with our local doctors to bring world-class care close to home. Today, amazing partnerships are happening at Lawrence General Hospital. To learn more, visit lawrencegeneral.org/today.
Italian artisan cuisine combines simple, fresh ingredients with time-honored preparation to create an incredible culinary experience. At Tuscan Kitchen, located in Salem's historic Depot District, talented chefs prepare everything in-house from scratch for all to see. Guests enjoy their meal literally in our kitchen as food is prepared right in front of you. Wood ovens burn from morning till night, roasting vegetables, baking bread, and firing delightful thin-crust pizzas. Prime steaks are seared on a wood grill. A rotisserie slowly roasts marinated whole chickens and lamb, while a pasta maker creates fresh fettuccine. More than just artisan cuisine, Tuscan Kitchen features the wine bar, live entertainment, weekly wine tastings, and elegant private dining and event space. Call 603-952-4875 or visit TuscanKitchen.com to make a reservation and learn more about the culinary adventure that awaits. In Italy, cooking is an art form. Tuscan Kitchen. Experience artisan Italian.
Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine each pleased to announce the opening of their American College of Radiology accredited MRI unit at their location at 16 Pelham Road in Salem, New Hampshire. So now, in addition to receiving the best orthopedic care in the Merrimack Valley, as well as physical and occupational therapy at Optima Sports Therapy and Rehab, you can also have your MRI, all in one convenient location. The doctors and staff of Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine have been dedicated to providing outstanding medical care to the Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire since 1984. Located on Route 97, just off Exit 2 from Route 93 North, on the second floor of the Workout Club of Salem. You deserve the best care, and that's exactly what you'll get from the board-certified surgeons at Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine. Please call 603-898-2244 to schedule an appointment.
A loyal sponsor for the Sicilian Corner is Hilton Oil Company. Hilton Oil has been located right across from the South Lawrence Common since 1932 at 101 South Union Street. Hilton Oil Company specializes in 24-hour burner service, oil deliveries, including automatic deliveries, serving all the Merrimack Valley area, plus portions of southern New Hampshire. If you want your car fixed right the first time, bring it to Hilton's state-of-the-art service station. Remember, Hilton's is also a Mass State inspection station. Hilton Oil Company, 101 South Union Street in Lawrence. Call 978-687-9793.
This is Cindy
and Mike Kunstler,
owners and operators of Four Oaks Country Club and Grazie Italian Restaurant in Drake, Massachusetts.
Grazie Italian Restaurant is the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
Why is that?
In addition to the spectacular views overlooking the golf course, we have an incredible new chef, Oscar Figueroa.
We still have all the favorites, but Oscar has created a lot of excitement with his new specials.
Scallops, seared to perfection.
House-made ravioli with farm-fresh local corn.
And buttery, tender, lazy man's lobster, just to name a few.
You have to come experience Grazie Italian Restaurant for yourself.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club, 80 Meadow Creek Drive in Drake, Massachusetts.
Okay, we are back. Did that work?
Perfectly.
It did?
Yeah. Just like we drew it up.
I didn't hear any music, but I timed it. Just timed it.
Yeah. Time this, all right?
Hey, listen, Dom, you were my sponsor. You sponsored me back in 1986, was it, Domenic?
Right around then, yes.
1986. And Tony, I think I sponsored you.
Yes.
Ray and I sponsored you the next year, right?
88.
88, okay.
How come you didn't sponsor me?
You're out.
He didn't like you.
You're out.
You're out.
Dom and Tony, you guys can both relate to this. So, we talk about you, Tony, as president of the organization. Now, for 35 years, maybe longer, Sam Lombardo was the president of the St. Alfio Society. And for the last I don't know how many years. Sam was up there in age, so Silvio Campagnoni was the vice president and really took over as the president for quite a long time. Point being, Domenic, wouldn't you say that Tony and Silvio had kind of different operating styles as presidents?
The organization had about 65 members then, maybe even less. And at the time, a lot of people attended the meetings. And, like Tony mentioned earlier, and this is just part of human nature. I mean, people ended up in cliques within the organization. And Silvio tried to, many times make sure that you were in the right clique. Right. That's basically what it was. But Sam was wonderful. Silvio was wonderful. And,
great.
And there's so many great historic stories of which many will be lost because people forget. But I mean, there were other great presidents. One president was killed in a
hunting accident.
Really? Right. Just imagine what went on at 20 Common
what was his
Street
name, Dom?
when that happened. His name was Balsamo.
Balsamo, right. He was killed in a hunting accident.
Can you imagine the stories and the controversies that must have gone on then? By the way, that was a hunting accident with some other members who were on the hunting.
There was another Balsamo too that was a president. There were two Balsamos, I believe. I can't remember the other gentleman's first name, but towards the end, when Sam was really out of the picture, making decisions, and Silvio unfortunately passed away. Silvio died. Steve Zani was the vice president, and Steve took over. And I think Steve and Ray DiFiore, I have to give them a crap load of credit because they were the first ones that really took it to a new level as far as changes.
Term limits and everything else.
All of that. And then just the feast. I mean,
great.
Just the feast.
Absolutely.
Let someone else,
right.
someone else be
that
the
was
president.
huge. But then they would allow people like Domenic and myself or Tony or Wayne to really step up to the plate, take a swing, try something. If it worked, fine. If it didn't work, then we scrap it. And I think that was a big part of what Tony's talking about, allowing, they weren't ruling with an iron fist. They were allowing us to step up and take a swing.
When you think about the fact that, and I know it sounds like it's a long time ago, but 1988, I became a member, and I would go into the meetings, into the old building, right? And literally, I'd sit in the back, and I was basically told, just listen, don't say a word.
Keep your mouth shut.
Now, I know it's like 1988, but 1988 is what? It's 12:30, it's 20, it's 30, that's 34 years ago. Now, I know that sounds like it's a lifetime for some people, but still, it's 1988, and that's how St. Alfio's was run. It was run with, I hate to say the term,
dictatorship.
Dictatorship, yes. And so you would go to a meeting, and you basically were there, and all you did was take orders. Like if they said, "Oh, you do this, you do that, you do this," and but that's the way it was run, which is fine, and it worked, but it was not inclusive, right? It was very much top-down management, right? Very heavy-handed. And then, as you said, Tom, when Steve and Ray came in, because Steve became president, Ray became vice president, and let's not forget Jay Farrow, who was very involved, who was the feast chairman, but he was also related to the Zanis, right?
Right.
He's married to Steve's sister, right? Right.
Yeah.
So those three gentlemen pretty much took what I think, in my opinion, St. Alf Society into the 20th century.
They did.
They took it 20th century. And that all started with the 75th, right? Because there was a steady decline in terms of both membership, in terms of participation, and also obviously the number of people supporting the organization.
Well, and the neighborhood. Remember,
right?
We all moved out.
The neighborhood really, that was a drastic change with the neighborhood, right?
And St. Alfio's Villa hadn't been there very long,
right?
If I recall,
right.
I mean, Domenic and I worked together, and Domenic and I used to spend hours
talking about the feast.
Planning.
I was upstairs. I was upstairs in accounting. He was downstairs in purchasing.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Al Turisti would walk by. He goes, "You gonna do any work?"
I mean, hey, should we try this? You think?
Yeah,
do this? Right. We used to do that, and it was.
So you're right.
Great.
So that was the 75th was a watershed year because, like you said, Tom, Steve and Ray gave us and that group of guys the ability to sort of try stuff, and then they'd support us. And to me, and Mike started getting involved then too. The 75th to me was the catalyst for where the feast has gone, which was 3 days, the big concerts, entertainment, all of that, which is now, I won't say the cornerstone, but integral parts of what we're doing.
And also, you should mention John Cardone, who was Silvio's son-in-law.
Oh, right.
He played a sizable leadership role in the back. He may not have been titled, but he was a hustler. That guy did a real lot.
Yeah.
Him and his sons, by the way.
I think that Johnny Cardone was feast chairman once or twice.
No, yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, I know that Jay Cardone, those guys Jay and John were, we were young. I mean, it was my first few years, 85, 86, 87, 88.
So let's stop for a second. Let's talk about those fellows that were heavily involved, and for whatever reason, again, and whatever the reason was that they walked away. And there's, like I said, we can put together a list, of 10 guys. I think it's imperative that we reach out to those guys and ask them to come back this year to be involved. I think they could say no, which is fine, but I think it's incumbent upon us to say, hey, this is our 100th. We would not be here if it wasn't for your contributions 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. We really would like you to come back into the fold and help celebrate, because again, if it wasn't for your contribution and your hard work, then we wouldn't be here today. So,
and I agree. That's a great idea, because
I think we need to do that.
I mean, there are some obviously that have health issues that probably can't. However, there are individuals, some of which we just mentioned, that certainly could come back. We would love to have, and I think,
I'm hoping some of these folks that we're talking about watch your show, and if they watch the show, they can see that this is a genuine, sincere welcome to come back, because your contributions were important, but more so, they were the building blocks to get us to this point where we're celebrating 100 years. And again, as I said moments ago, there aren't a lot of organizations that are in 2022/2023 that can say they've been around 100 years, especially in this, I hate to say it, but in this woke world that we live in, with all of these distractions and all of this, political correctness, because it's challenging times. It's challenging times.
Growing up in the neighborhood, obviously the feast has been part of my DNA. It's been part of the fabric of my life, only because I was 2 blocks from Common Street. And to this day, and Wayne and I talk about this a lot, and Ronnie, to this day, that was a big part of the tremendous, great memories that we have of our childhood. I mean, I can remember being 7, 8 years old, sitting in, being up at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, and then a little bit later, hearing the band start playing as they're marching to church. And we would get so excited, all the kids in the neighborhood. We'd run out to the corner of Haverhill and Newbury in our pajamas to watch the band and the membership go by. I mean, those memories, man, you can never take those away. Just great memories.
So I say this all the time. I mean, we call each other brothers, and I went to a Catholic college, so I didn't have the opportunity to join a fraternity because Catholic colleges don't allow fraternities or sororities.
Right.
But to me, St. Alfio's is a fraternity. It is. I know we talk about fraternal organization, but truly, I think when you join St. Alfio's, you have the opportunity to join an organization where the men that are members, and I'm going to talk about something in a moment, but the men are members, and these are your fraternal brothers. This is your fraternity for the rest of your life, like you just said,
right.
Tom. You grew up with Wayne, Ronnie. These guys have been your friends for 50 years, not 5, not 15, 20, 50 years. We just had two members, Jimmy Fazio, whose mom just passed, Angie, and Alan Maranto, whose mother-in-law, Giuseppe Finicaro, just died. That's Maria, his wife's mom. And Jimmy has sent me several messages over the last few days, basically saying that the outpouring of love and support that he's received from the members, he could not have even anticipated the amount of love and support. And that, to me, wonderful. That's an incredible feeling, because that's what I'm talking about, Tommy. That's the fraternal organization. It's not just about we get together, for 3 days on Labor Day weekend, and we have fun and we laugh, but it's developed into something that goes way beyond even. Listen, I have 2 brothers, and I love them, but you guys, I'm as close to these 2 men and you than I am with my own flesh and blood. And if we continue to promote that, and we continue to instill in each other the support and the love, this organization will never go away. And that's my goal. I don't want it to be here for the 110th. I want it to be here for the 200th. None of us in this room will be here for that. But God willing, if we do the right things now and we set the motion and the building blocks that we've established over the last year, we continue to work on that, then I'm optimistic that it can survive. I don't know what the world's going to look like 100 years from now. Who knows what the world will work? But the reality is, I hope St. Alfio's is part of that.
The one thing, guys, I'd like to emphasize, maybe Domenic, you can feel this. We do not go out and try and solicit members. The only time members come to us. We do not put pressure or go say, this is a great club. Come down, we can play cards. It's nothing like that at all.
Once in a while we play cards, hardly ever.
But what I'm saying is it's a whole different, our listeners probably don't understand that because there's no recruiting.
Well, the reality is, if you think about the fundamental foundation of our organization, and it goes right back to three individuals, Alfio, Philadelphia, and Torino. There are not a lot of brother and sister saints in the world. These three boys were brothers who died together fighting for the opportunity to promote Christianity in 253. And if you think about the source of that drive, if you think about where it's coming from, that drive can't be any different than our drives. The bottom line is that I have to promote Tony's life because he's next to me. He passes in front of me. He's my friend. I have to promote, and this is what Tony's talking about in our organization, we have to promote each other's longevity and existence with our families because it's driven by Alfio. It's driven by the boys who died together when they went to Lentini and were horribly martyred. I don't want to talk about the details, but the blunt reality is that they could have checked out. They could have said, Jesus, we don't give a, let him go. What's the use of having him, or what's the use of dying for him? But they didn't do that. Everyone, concentrates too much on their death. But just imagine their life, how strong their loyalty was to each other, their care to each other, their love of each other. I mean, they must have been saying to Alfio, I want out. Torino was only like 17 years old. Why are you putting me through this? But in reality, their suffering created what Tony's talking about, and you've mentioned as well, the utter importance of feast or no feast, disagreement or no disagreement. In the end, what's going to matter the most is how we treated each other, how we loved each other, and how we promoted it through our families and the 3-day event. But it goes so far beyond 3 days. It's 365 days. Look at Fazio. No, Fazio's all about it. He just said it.
You're dead on.
I just wanted to say, Domenic, I did not grow up in the neighborhood, which is somewhat of a disadvantage because I listened to you guys talk, and I wish that I was involved in something like that. For whatever reason, we lived in South Lawrence, and it didn't really sink into my head how important it was. But the one thing I've learned in the 25
That's because you're a heathen.
The one thing I've learned in the 25 years that I've been a member is I look at the three saints, and I read a lot about them, and I wish I had one-tenth of what they felt and what they believed in. I'm not the most religious guy in the world, but I look at these three young men and what they went through, Tony, and I say, I wish I had that instilled in me. I really do. And I mean that sincerely.
Mikey, something? You're making a great point. We got about 2 minutes before the break. The friendships, and Tony, you touched upon it, man. The friendships that we've made over the last 34 years. I mean, there are guys like, you two guys, you three guys, Ronnie, there are guys that are so special to me and Wayne.
Party of
my heart.
But Tom, there's a lot, though. Mushroom Man.
Exactly.
You may say 3 or 5, but you're going to get to 30 guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. There's a zillion of them.
It's not just a few.
You could pick up, the best thing about every one of these guys is you can pick up a phone and say, hey, I'm in a jam. Can you help me out? Right? I'm in a jam. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Tony, when we come back, you're going to take us through the agenda of the upcoming 100th anniversary. Now, this isn't complete because there's going to be a few more surprises, we all know, but you can take us through what you have so far. Yes. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Ciao, this is Esther of You, Me, and Sicily. I want to talk to you about Tommy Amin and the great staff at Butcher Boy Market. Families, foodies, and home chefs come together at Butcher Boy to talk good food and create traditions. They offer the best in quality cuts of beef, pork, lamb, poultry, and restaurant-style steaks and chops. Produce? All of their produce is hand-selected to complement any meal or even to make it your main course. Their deli serves fresh roast beef, turkey, and beautiful imported Italian cold cuts, cheeses, and antipasto. And don't forget the Butcher Boy Bakery, featuring sweet delectables from all over the state, as well as their very own bakery. That's Butcher Boy, where the secret to a great steak is, of course, the steak. located at 1077 Osgood Street in North Andover, Massachusetts, in the Butcher Boy Plaza. Ciao.
This is David from the Sicilian Corner. You know, Mike, Tom, and I love to go to Salisbury Beach, but we love different things and can never agree where to go. Tom likes the casual family-style dining with the great Italian cuisine, Capri's Seaside Italian Kitchen and Pizzeria. Me? I love the elegant romantic vibes Sea Glass with the amazing view and terrific menu with prices that make it the place you want to visit each and every week. Mike loves a drink in his hand and a cool ocean breeze right off the surf and the rhythms of a cooler reggae band. We all know Mike loves Bob Marley tunes at Surfside. Who doesn't love a great show? National acts, comedy, regional favorites, and the beautiful and intimate Blue Ocean Concert Hall. Lucky for us, Atlantic Hospitality is the host of all of these great places, and they treat everyone like they are Mike Lomazzo. Best of all, we never have to choose. Park the car once, and all this fun is right at your fingertips. You can have it all in the heart of Salisbury Beach. Find out all the ways you can have a great night at Salisbury Beach at NorthshorePavilion.com. And Mike, Tom, and I will see you there.
This is Tom Zappala. Located in the heart of downtown Haverhill, the Haverhill Beef Company is a full-service, old-fashioned butcher shop and meat market that continues to be a valued family tradition since 1952. Peter and Monica Carboni's Haverhill Beef offers individualized service from an outstanding selection of marinated sirloin tips, homemade sausage, marinated chicken, and thick, juicy Chairman Reserve steaks. Your family deserves the best, so call Peter at 978-374-4795 or visit their website at www.haverhillbeef.com.
Hi, this is Mike, and I would like to tell you about the Deborah Care Law Offices, a firm that is focused on estate planning, probate, trust administration, and elder law issues. You will feel comfortable discussing important issues concerning both you and your loved ones, as well as having the information you need to make an informed decision about your family's future. How do I know? Because I'm a client of Dan Deborah Care. If you want to have peace of mind knowing that your loved ones are protected, call Deborah Care Law Offices today. In Massachusetts, 978-686-4645. In New Hampshire, 603-894-4141.
At Catadella Funeral Home, we reinvest in our business to provide your family with the best facilities. It begins with a beautifully landscaped exterior, parking for 250 vehicles, and a comfortable and inviting access to our renovated interior. Funerals can be costly, so you should review and compare plans to make sure you receive services that are fairly priced. I invite you to experience the Catadella difference in cost, facility, and service.
Catadella's honoring and celebrating the lives of the people we loved, providing exceptional care since 1929.
This is Cindy
and Mike Kunstler,
owners and operators of Four Oaks Country Club and Grazie Italian Restaurant in Drake, Massachusetts.
Grazie Italian Restaurant is the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
Why is that?
In addition to the spectacular views overlooking the golf course, we have an incredible new chef, Oscar Figueroa.
We still have all the favorites, but Oscar has created a lot of excitement with his new specials.
Scallops, seared to perfection.
House-made ravioli with farm-fresh local corn.
And buttery tender Lazy Man's lobster, just to name a few.
You have to come experience Grazie Italian Restaurant for yourself.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club, 80 Meadow Creek Drive in Drake, Massachusetts. Hope to see you soon.
I'm ready. Okay. Okay, we are back with Tony Palmisano. What's your name, Domenic?
Yes.
Domenic. Domenic.
Messina, they used to call me.
Messina. And Mikey Boy. Hi, Tony. This is a big feast. People have been working on this thing for over a year now. Why don't you kind of take us through where we're at right now with the festivities for the 100th?
Okay. So you're absolutely right. So last January, one of the things I did was I put together a 100th planning committee, of which Domenic was involved with that. And what I said, and I've said it repeatedly, is two things. One, yes, it's the 100th, and I got input from members and membership in the council, and everybody said, well, we need to do something big, different, special. And I said, yeah. I said, but here's the one thing that we're not going to do. We're not going to bankrupt the organization because of the 100th. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to be financially responsible, meaning we're going to have to go out and raise money for the 100th. And we really had a good year, and I won't talk about financially last year, but we've put together some interesting fundraisers. We've done some grants. Make a long story short, we're perfectly positioned to have a unique and special 100th that is going to be funded by money that we've raised through all of these avenues that really all generated from the 100th Planning Committee as well as the grant committee that I put together. So the first thing that we talked about, and it's not just because we've done it in the past, but because I think it's a direct cultural link to our roots, basically in Trecastani, is we are bringing back, and it's not a band, it's an orchestra. And it's not just an orchestra, it's an orchestra with a tenor. And Domenic and Al Laspina and Peter Messina, but mostly Domenic has been sort of the chair. He's been coordinating with the people, and some of the people are members that were here 20 years ago. We brought the band over twice. So this orchestra, and I'm going to let Domenic kind of talk about it because they've been doing interviews. It's going to be a spectacular event with these guys coming, and he can talk more about that.
Oh, 25 years ago we brought a band from Sicily, and then 2 years after that we did it again, and being the 100th feast, and there's this cultural component when you bring people here from there, it also brings about so much cultural excitement, especially because they're in Lawrence for the 3 days. So we reached out to, at the time, were four guys that were in those bands. They weren't the maestro, they weren't the head of the bands at the time, but now they're 25 years later. They had four bands, and those guys, Carmelo Caruso, Angelo Bonacorso, Lucio Papalato, and Giuseppe Borzi, they have their own bands there. They got together and they decided to have a full audition because, let's face it, nepotism is going to happen. Instead of going that route, they auditioned about 75 people between the ages of 18 and 40.
Wow.
And they got it down to the 32 people. With the tenor, it's 32, I think.
34.
34, so that's really 33 in the tenor. They've got it down to 33 musicians in the tenor. One of those, Lucio Papalato, will be the maestro. They chose him because they're all conservatory students. In fact, Lucio and Bonacorso, they went to the conservatory there in Catania. So they're sort of, again, getting the best of the crop. I've already heard there's some people upset that we couldn't just take, certain people from certain towns, especially Trecastani. But the reality is, I think the way they did it is the right way. They wanted to get the best, and that's what they're getting. So, we're having no issues there. I try to speak to them every other week. And I have to also mention Steve Zappel, Dr. Steve. He was instrumental in creating a relationship between us and ITA on working a deal with them on the tickets. We're continuing to work that deal, but we got favorable results there. So, we're very fortunate that we'll be able to do this. The culture component.
This is just one component of the feast. Tony, what else do we have?
Well, no, but I before we move on, I wanted to say two things. One of the things that I think has been really beneficial is that there's been guys that have been silent, and for whatever reason they've been silent, active members but silent. And one of them is Dr. Zappel, who really last year has really stepped up. He's sort of embraced sort of my approach to the organization. Another guy that's been very heavily involved is Gino Baroni. So that's been very positive. And so the band is coming over, and the couple things, Dominic, talk about what their itinerary is going to be. They're going to perform and all that.
They're performing in a couple of venues. They're performing at Tuscan Village on the Saturday before the feast. Those plans are being finalized, and that'll be obviously marketed and made public. They're performing in the North End on the Sunday before the feast, either in the morning or the afternoon. A group in the North End has requested that they play a concert in one of the nice churches there, off of I think it's off Hanover.
The Sacred Heart, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yep.
So we're still finalizing, and then of course, starting on Thursday night till Sunday, they're with us with the concert on Saturday night. They'll be marching on obviously Friday. They'll be marching on Saturday, and they'll be marching on Sunday in the procession. But it all, it culminates with them finishing with us the last 3 days, which is our feast. In conjunction with the band that we have, the St. Alfio band, I imagine that spirit's going to, they'll merge at the moment of glory and play the songs together. And I think that will be absolutely incredible. And of course, with the rest of all of our teammates wanting to up the, the fireworks, the confetti, all that's it's going to be a tremendous event on those 3 days as well. But it's great that we're sharing the band. These other groups have, asked us to help, work with us and maybe do other events. And it's going to be they're here for 13 days.
Yeah. Tony, we have about 6 minutes left.
Okay.
So we should really get...
So a couple other things. So the next thing is been working, and again, I want to thank you for your, and Michael, for all of your work in the entertainment side. So the entertainment committee has done a tremendous job. And so this year, what we've decided to do is we decided to have 2 stages. So, and my goal is that when you Google like Italian festivals or feast, or if you, let's say you put the term in like music festivals, I would want the St. Alfio Society / Feast of the Three Saints to come up, because we're going to have 2 stages. We're going to have a stage on what we're calling the Tripoli stage, which is taking over the municipal parking lot. That's going to be a full stage, not a small stage, but a full stage. We're going to have entertainment there, and then we're going to have the main bandstand. So the entertainment is going to be continuous for all 3 days. So we're going to have a lot more music. I won't tell you the number, but it's literally the largest, I guess, entertainment budget we've had since we did anything in the Common. And we talked about the Common, Tom. We actually talked about the Common, as you know, and we decided that because of the footprint, that it would be better to have it on that other end of the street to keep it all contained.
Plenty of space.
Absolutely.
Plenty of space. So we have a lot of entertainment. I won't get into the specific acts, but we have a lot of really good entertainment. And
as we get down,
we'll talk more. But the key is that we're doing 2 things with the entertainment. One, we're going to do entertainment that really appeals to Italian culture, and I'll use an older demographics. But we're also doing entertainment that is going to appeal to 30-year-olds. 40-year-olds and families, because we need to have those people come, and that is the key to this entertainment plan. There's going to be music and entertainment for anybody from the ages from 20 years old to 80 years old.
Something for everyone.
Exactly.
One thing I want to throw out is Tony and a few other people, Hank Zappala asked me to help out with the ad book.
Yeah.
And
well, it's not an ad book. It's a commemorative book. So
it's right. You're right. But here's what I want to say to the general public. I'm responsible. We're going to have, for $100.
Right.
We're going to have ads that a little smaller, not a lot smaller, a little smaller than the business card, where you can, congratulate the organization, you can, in memory of whoever. And if you would like to contribute to that, please email me at zapsenior@hotmail.com. You can say congratulations or in memory of John Smith from the Smith family or whoever. zapsr@hotmail.com. If you email me, I'll send you an index card with a self-addressed stamped envelope. You can write whatever you want, send it back to me with your donation, and we'll make sure it gets in the book. And for all those people, we're going to give them some kind of a little commemorative something or other.
Right. In fact, I just approved the proposal that you put together this morning.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
So let me hang this up. So this is the Feast program book that has been basically a source of information.
We have 2 minutes, Tony.
But basically a source of information and a really good revenue source. So this year, Hank Zappala has graciously accepted the role as chairman of what we're now calling program book / commemorative book, because we did a commemorative book, hardcover book for the 75th. So we decided to merge it into one. So it could be a hardcover, it may be soft cover, but it's now going to be 8.5 by 11, not 6 by 9. Tommy has talked about the smaller ads that are more sort of a memorial commemorative ads that we're going to incorporate. We're also going to incorporate John Caprioli's idea, which is about recipes / feast stories, which will be narratives. So It is going to be a commemorative book this year. And again, I want to thank Tom for his involvement, Hank Zappler for his involvement. And the key is that the information was just disseminated last Sunday at the general meeting. So we're months ahead of schedule, where typically we would start talking about this or getting information out maybe in April and May, and then there's a scramble to get to the printer in mid-July. Now I think we're going to have an incredible outpouring of support for this commemorative book based on the fact that we're way ahead of schedule, and now we have a direct idea as to what we're looking to accomplish. And so I'm very, very excited about the commemorative book. The other thing we can talk about real quick is there could be a flyover at the feast this year. So we're working on the flyover. We got that going on, and there's a lot of other little things. But the most important thing is that the St. Alfio Society is strong. We're vital. We care about each other, and we are in a position to put on one of the best free events, the City of Lawrence. And you've said this to me many times, Tommy. This could be the biggest event the City of Lawrence has ever held.
Well, let me tell you something. We are going to, this is the first of several shows we're going to do. Our goal is not just the City of Lawrence, but we want this feast, and it's going to be as big as any of the North End feasts in the city of Boston. We have the support of all those organizations. It's going to be really cool. Domenic, thank you so much for coming on board. We love you. You know what you mean to us. Tony, obviously, you're doing a great job.
Thanks for all your support, Tom. Thank you.
Mikey boy,
thank you, Mike.
We'll see you next week. And to our viewers and listeners, remember, the 100th feast is coming up. And also remember, if you can't make fun of yourself, please don't make fun of anyone. Have a great week.
Take care, everybody. Remember, anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Audio Jungle.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.